ACE031. This is a popular research compound that has been getting a lot of attention lately, specifically in the research space for muscle growth. You guys know there's not a lot of good muscle growth peptides out there, so whenever a compound comes in the picture, people are all over it. Before I get into this, all of this is for research and educational purposes only, not medical advice. The correct way to think about ACE031 is not a peptide, it's a large engineered protein specifically designed to block myostatin and went through a couple human trials, but we're going to get into it. They were all discontinued. If you don't know, myostatin is basically the body's built-in brake to make sure you're not gaining too much muscle or muscle growth doesn't continue rapidly. What ACE031 was designed to do was act as a decoy so we could take our foot off the brake and step on the gas pedal. It binds to this docking station called ACT-RIIB, and basically it blocks myostatin, but it also blocks a couple other things which are going to be important. It also soaks up activin A, activin B, BMP9 and 10, and also GDF11. Basically what it's doing, it's binding to all that in the actual blood before it reaches the docking station, turning that muscle growth switch off. So more muscle gain, but when it's soaking up those other things as well, that's where we run into issues. There was actually 2 human studies done on this. The first one was healthy postmenopausal women. I'm going to read because I want you guys to understand fully. They did 48 postmenopausal women. They did a subcutaneous dose of ACE031 escalating from 0.02 up to 3 milligrams per kilograms, and they did a placebo group again. They measured lean body mass by DEXA scan, thigh muscle volume via MRI, plus bone and fat biomarkers. For this one, they found the top dose of 3 milligram per kilogram per dose by day 29. Total lean mass increased 3.3%. Thigh mass volume went up 5.1%, roughly about a kilo, and bone formation markers rose and fat trended down. So basically what this proved is it obviously worked. They did a second one as well on healthy women. This was phase 1, and what they used was 60 healthy postmenopausal women. They repeated those same dosages every 2 to 4 weeks, testing whether the effect held up with a continued exposure. They measured lean mass, muscle volume, grip strength, walk tests, plus bone and fat biomarkers. Body composition effects from the single dose study held up with repeat dosing over a short window. The effect was repeatable. That's what we found out from that one. The last study was done specifically with boys with a muscle wasting disease called Duchenne muscular dystrophy. This was done in 2017, boys age 4+. And what they did is a subcutaneous amount of ACE031 every 2 to 4 weeks, placebo-controlled, ascending dose, and the primary objective was safety with this one, obviously, because the group was so young. They measured, obviously, the safety markers first, plus trends in walking distance, a 6-minute walk test, lean mass, and bone density. They found that walking distance increase in lean mass, and higher bone density versus placebos, which were all encouraging signals. However, that study was stopped early. Let's talk about why. So I mentioned those markers that were all soaked up by ACE031, and what they found in these studies were nosebleeds, small dilated surface vessels, aka spider veins, and the veins look all vascular and everything like that, and bleeding gums. None of it was immediately life-threatening, but since the group of boys were so young, they decided to stop these trials early. So if we go back to BMP9 and BMP10, those are the direct signals that keep blood vessels stable. So those spider veins and all the bleeding and everything that they saw in the trials, that correlated directly back to those 2 pathways specifically. The group actually decided to end the study in 2013 and decided not to restart the trials or even push further with it, shutting it down entirely. So that's why it's a compound in the research space and it wasn't pushed any farther. All these things seem very promising on paper, but if they couldn't get through the immediate trials, it's always something to look into. Not every compound is a magic pill, and these side effects do exist. So always do your research, always consult with a medical doctor or at least get a second opinion. And this one specifically, I'm going to toss into a bucket of probably should not be touched. Does it work for the muscle benefits? Yes. However, there's a lot of risks associated with it.